They mocked me the moment I walked into my brother's engagement hall. I could feel it before I even heard the whispers, the sideways glances, the suppressed laughs, the judgment that clung to the air like cheap perfume. I wasn't dressed badly, but I wasn't flashy either. Simple suit, clean shoes, nothing that screamed wealth or power. To them, that was enough. In their eyes, I was just the other brother, the quiet one who never bragged, never showed off, never talked about success. The engagement hall was buzzing with conversation and music. My brother stood at the center, glowing with happiness, surrounded by friends, colleagues, and relatives. I was genuinely proud of him. He had worked hard to get where he was, and today was his day. I had no intention of stealing his spotlight. I just wanted to celebrate, smile, and stay in the background. But some people don't let you stay invisible. A group of his friends, mostly coworkers from his office, started whispering as soon as I passed by. At first, I ignored it. I've learned over the years that not every comment deserves a response. But then the whispers turned into soft laughter, and the laughter into comments that were just loud enough for me to hear. Is that really his brother? One of them said. He doesn't look very successful, another replied. I heard he never even talks about his job. Probably unemployed, someone added, followed by a chuckle. I smiled politely and walked past them, pretending I didn't hear a thing. Inside, though, something tightened. Not anger, at least not yet, but disappointment. It amazed me how quickly people judged, how confidently they decided your worth based on clothes, posture, or silence. I took a seat near the back, watching the event unfold. The speeches began, one after another, full of jokes, praise, and stories. When my brother's manager stood up, the tone shifted. He started talking about the company, about growth, about loyalty, and about how lucky they were to have strong leadership. That was when I noticed it. The same people who had mocked me earlier straightened up. Their expressions changed. They listened carefully, nodding at every word. Their respect wasn't for values or character, it was for power. Titles. Authority. As the manager spoke, he mentioned the company's founder, praising his vision, his discipline, and his habit of staying out of the spotlight. He said the founder preferred to let results speak louder than his name. I almost laughed, because that founder was me. Years ago, while everyone else was busy chasing titles and posting achievements online, I had quietly built something from nothing. Long nights, countless failures, risks that could have ruined me, but I never talked about it. Not because I was ashamed, but because I never felt the need to prove myself to anyone. Even my brother didn't know the full extent of it. He knew I owned a business, but he had no idea that the company he worked for, the company his friends admired so much, was mine. The manager finished his speech and then did something unexpected. He invited me to the stage. At first, people looked around, confused. Some scanned the room, expecting a sharply dressed executive or a well-known face. When my name was called and I stood up, the confusion turned into disbelief. The whispers returned, but this time, they weren't mocking. Isn't that the guy from earlier? Wait, him? No way. I walked to the stage calmly, every step echoing louder than the music. I could feel dozens of eyes following me, especially from that group who had laughed before. Their faces had gone pale. The manager smiled and handed me the microphone. He introduced me simply, without exaggeration, without drama. Just the truth. This is the man who started everything, he said. The owner of the company. Silence. Not the awkward kind, but the heavy kind, the kind that presses against your chest. I looked out at the crowd and saw shock, embarrassment, regret. Some people avoided my gaze altogether. Others stared at me like they were seeing a ghost. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel proud in the way they probably expected. What I felt was calm. I spoke briefly. I congratulated my brother and his fiancée. I thanked everyone for supporting the company and for being part of its journey. I didn't mention the mocking. I didn't expose anyone. I didn't need to. The truth had already done the work for me. When I stepped off the stage, the atmosphere had completely changed. The same people who had laughed earlier now rushed toward me with forced smiles and shaky voices. I didn't know, one of them said quickly. You're so humble, another added. We had no idea you were, you know. I nodded politely, accepted their greetings, and moved on. Their words meant nothing now. Respect that comes only after power is revealed isn't respect at all, it's fear disguised as admiration. Later that night, my brother pulled me aside. He was smiling, but his eyes were full of emotion. Why didn't you ever tell me? He asked. I shrugged. You never needed to know. I wanted you to build your own life without my shadow. He hugged me tightly, and in that moment, everything felt right. Not because people finally saw me differently, but because the person who mattered most understood me completely. As the event came to an end, I watched people leave, still whispering, still processing what they had learned. I realized something important that night: people will judge you no matter what. If you look poor, they'll mock you. If you look rich, they'll envy you. If you stay silent, they'll assume weakness. If you speak, they'll question your intentions. The only thing you can control is who you choose to be. I chose to be quiet. I chose to be patient. I chose to let my work speak for itself. And when the truth finally came out, it didn't need shouting. It didn't need revenge. It simply stood there, undeniable, while the mockery turned into silence. That night wasn't about proving them wrong.